Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a list of books that I probably shouldn't love, but I do. And by shouldn't love, I don't mean like I have some kind of forbidden romance with these books where morally I shouldn't like them or something like that. It's just if me now, having read these books, described these books to me in the past would be like, nah. That is so especially true for the very first book on this list, which would be The Queens of Innislear by Tessa Gratton. This is Shakespeare's King Lear retold in a much more fantastical fashion. And I think that premise on its own, I wouldn't have objected to. It's the fact that this book is so dry. It's really dry, which is weird because it has some of the most beautiful writing I've come across, but it's not action-packed whatsoever. There's some intrigue, but not really. I mean, the thing that propels this story forward is kind of the drama of it. We have these three sisters, one who very much wants the throne when their ailing father dies, one who is willing to back her up no matter the cost, and the third one's like, I'm the perfect daughter, I'm so nice, and I love our dad. And the other two are like, Dad sucks, pretty sure Dad killed Mom. And the whole time you're like, did their dad kill their mom? So there's a lot of familial drama in the story, and there's also a lot of did he kill her? Like, you're just constantly wondering. It's almost like a little bit of a mystery trying to find out. But it's also so tragic seeing this king whose health is dwindling and he's going crazy, and this youngest daughter is trying to take care of him and then deal with her crazy sisters. And there's all these other side characters that play into it all. And I just feel like if you had told me, oh, there's just not a lot, that it's really slow. It's really slow and the writing is really beautiful, perhaps a little dense, I don't think I would have been interested in it at all, especially because, while I pretty much ignore Goodreads ratings, it has one of the lowest Goodreads ratings I've ever seen for an adult fantasy book. So all of those things combined, I probably would, my past self, well, obviously I was curious enough to pick it up. If I had been told all of these things, I would have been like, no, you know what, that's probably not for me. But the writing is really stunning, and the themes that are explored are really well done. And it's weird, the characters, I don't find myself really caring for them, but to see their examinations and exploration, it's done so well. It's done so well. And now I just want more and more people to read this, even though I'm always, when I talk about it, having a little asterisk and being like, but it's boring. The next one would be very different. It's very sweet. It's very whimsical. And honestly, it's a romance set in a fantasy world. It's just not, a naughty romance or anything. It's a cutesy, sweet romance. And that would be an Enchantment of Ravens. It's funny because while I completely believe that there are plenty of people out there who are not that interested in the romances within fantasy stories, I do think that there's this weird idea that if a story does focus on the romance a lot, that somehow it's not as good. It's more of a trivial guilty pleasure type of story, and it can't really be much else besides that. And I just don't subscribe to that idea. There are so many romances in fantasy books, and I think there's a difference between we don't focus that much on the romance and the romance is extremely underdeveloped. And that's the one I feel like usually we see, but I feel like it gets seen as, oh, I just liked that it didn't focus on the romance. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, but the characters went from A to Z with nothing in between for me to care. And if we want more friendships in books that are really good, why would we then not want the romances to be developed at least a little bit? Again, not saying that I want all my fantasy books to have these huge romantic subplots or have the romance be at the forefront. I just feel like we actually do want good romances in our stories if they're going to be there, because you can have something well developed in a short amount of time. I do believe that, but anyway, I'm going off on a rant. My point is that this one, it really is, though, a romance in a fantasy story. It really is. I feel like there are certain aspects of the story that explore some of the folklore surrounding fae and other things like that in the story. They're the fair folk. I do think we explore some interesting elements of folklore, but it's by no means some epic fantasy, super interesting world with great magic or anything like that. It's whimsical. It's very fairy tale-esque. And in the past, I would have been like, no, I want those big worlds. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do just want a little sweet story that's whimsical and nice. Next up would be Witcher, and this is a series that I have said many times that I got into because of the video game. I just did a whole video about books I'm biased toward, and Witcher is definitely one of them. I think we're biased toward every book in some fashion, but I mean very obviously biased because I love the game so much. So this one is not so much I wouldn't have thought I'd have liked it. It's more of there are so many things within the story that I don't love, but I love the series anyway. So honestly, given so many of the things that frustrate me, I feel like I have a pretty long list. When I did a book roast for this, which if you haven't seen those videos, I ask people over on my Instagram stories to let me know their unpopular opinions. And I do this for books I like and books I don't like. And I did it for Witcher, and I found myself agreeing with so many of the criticisms, but I still love it anyway. It's just I have a big list of things that I don't love, but gosh darn it, if I don't love Geralt. Next up would be The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. This story follows Nannerl, was her nickname. I'm really sorry, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. But Nannerl Mozart. So we know Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. This was his sister, and this is her story. It's magical realism. I didn't know this when I went into this story, but it is true that the Mozarts, the siblings, they kind of created this little magical imaginary world that they had as something to entertain themselves when they were going from one place to the next to perform for people. And what Marie Lu did was she took this world that they made, and then she created this Narnia-esque story that they kind of go into, and the parallels between what's going on in our main character's life and then how things change in this magical world known as the Kingdom of Back. I just feel like you can read this book and think, oh, this magical world's weird and I don't understand the rules to it and stuff. But that's, to me, there's a lot of symbolism, and I interpreted it in ways that I thought were so powerful, and I tabbed this book up quite a bit. There's so many lines that I thought were so impactful because ultimately it's a tragic story, because in that time period women just didn't have the freedom, no matter how perfect of a daughter they were, no matter how perfect of a child they were, they just didn't have the opportunities to explore what they wanted to explore in life. And it's really heartbreaking, and I just loved it, but I wouldn't have thought I would have, given the fact that it is magical realism. And on top of that, you would think because I majored in music that it would be more appealing to me, but I actually tend to be very hesitant when I see that a story has a lot of music at its core, because I just know I'm going to be obnoxious and a snob about those things. And I thought Marie Lu, you absolutely don't need to know a lot about music to go into this, and I felt like what she did put in was really well done. And I was reading in the back that she played piano and everything growing up, so I think she also has knowledge to pull from. But even if she didn't, I thought that it was more about the character and the parallels with this magical world than it was about the music, although it was a fantastic backdrop. The last one on this list would be Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and this one I would say my feelings toward it are the most like my feelings toward the Queens of Innislear, where the writing is stunning. It's stunning in a different way. It's definitely not dense. It's just more of like, she almost gets like lost in her beautiful writing, and you're like, I don't know how many times I need the color blue described to me, you know, like it's that kind of a thing. But you know, it was pretty, although I tend to like straightforward writing, which is part of the reason that I feel like past me would have been like, no, I don't want that. But I also feel like a lot of people criticize this duology for its insta-love. I'm not even going to deny it. I do think that it's not quite as insta-lovey as maybe some people act like it is. But even then, I mean, it progresses very quickly. I think it's initially instant fascination that turns very quickly into affection. And then very quickly it's like, I will do anything for this person. But there are two things that totally make this book not only a book that I enjoy, but a book that I love and is ultimately a favorite for me. And that's the themes that are explored and Laszlo. I just love Laszlo so much, but more than Laszlo, the themes. The themes are extremely powerful, and I think they're very dark, and they essentially explore the trauma of an entire people. And I don't know, I just feel like it's pretty heavy, and it's heavy but told in a very whimsical, beautiful, elegant fashion. So it's so pretty in its presentation that you're almost caught off guard by the darkness that it's actually exploring. But I think that that's something we don't see as much anymore, but used to be pretty common. When you talk about old fairy tales, they were crazy. They were super messed up and really dark, but we associate fairy tales now with like Disney princesses and stuff like that. But yeah, the darkness that's explored, but in such a pretty way. I don't know, the combination of it, it just ended up working for me, even though I feel like I absolutely shouldn't like it based off of my usual tastes. That's it for 5 books that I ultimately would never have thought that I'd have loved as much as I do. I'm very curious to know, what are some books that you have felt the same sort of thing for? And also, being kind of selfish here, but what are some books that you're like, okay, I know this isn't usually your taste, but based off of those ones, I think you would like this, because I'm always looking for more recommendations. Thanks so much for watching though. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.